Tracy Martin.
Mr. Speaker, I'll just straighten my speech notes here with my technical details on them. This government believes it can contract out accountability. It's privatised corrections, it's privatised energy generation. Last week it pushed through a bill that's going to privatise many of our social welfare services. And what's worse is the Minister actually promises us there's even more. There's even more, Mr Bennett. Look forward to it. Look forward to it. New Zealand First believes that the New Zealand public is actually starting to wake up to what is the real agenda of this government. The aim of this government is to keep its population in a state of apathy around the economy, with the continual references to there is no alternative, we must do this, but at the same time they're going to privatise the state via stealth. And we can see that in almost every piece of legislation that's coming through this House. But nowhere is it more disturbing except in the field of education. So I'm talking about charter schools, and I'm talking about the privatisation of the state education system, creating an industry for profit, not for our children, not for academic outcome, not for our communities. No, 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 no. This is an industry for profit, and those two words prominently appear in the Supply and Confidence Agreement between this government and the ACT Party. Now, at the moment it's called charter schools, but the officials quite rightly pointed out in a cabinet paper way back in February at the beginning of this year that we already have charter schools here in New Zealand. Every single state school has a charter. So they've recommended that as early as possible could the working group come up with another name. They've also recommended that a bit of money be put into actually promoting and putting a bit of spin on this so that the New Zealand public thinks that it is a great idea that their hard-earned taxpayer education dollars are given to people who are going to make a profit off it. And the fact that they're going to drop the first two of these schools into South Auckland and Christchurch in its own disturbing little way makes it worse. So this name is up for grabs. We've got some names. We can all put them in a bucket. Let's put some forward and add them to the Working Party group. How about fleece the taxpayer of their education dollar schools? How about that? Shall we chuck that into the pot, see whether they... Or what do we say? We run it up a flagpole, see if anybody salutes. Is that how you say it, Mr Bennett? What about another of John Banks's stupid ideas schools? How would that go? Shall we try that? Because we need to get another name, because we already have charter schools. And actually, if you... None of this is written down, Mr Hanare. Some of this actually can create it on the spot, Mr Hanare. These are notes, Mr Hanare. Because if ever there was a sign that this was a stupid idea, surely it was the flashing sign above Mr John Banks's head that this idea came out of an ACT Party meeting that was held in a telephone box. I mean, that's how many people basically voted for and participated in the ACT Party, yet this was their idea. Or was it? I mean, this is interesting. I want to quote here, and I'll just consult my notes. I'm quoting here that in a meeting between Mr Banks and a group of education officials, Mr Banks is quoted as saying, "I have outsourced all thinking." Now, we would suggest, I wanted to make sure I got it right because it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that somebody would say that. But we would suggest that Mr Banks actually outsourced his thinking sometime before. And we would suggest that it's a shame Mr Banks didn't outsource his memory, because it would be nice if somebody else could remember whose helicopter he was on. But he was referring to charter schools and the working group. Now, Mr Banks and Mr Key are attempting to sell this charter schools idea, as I said, to the New Zealand public as a silver bullet. This is the silver bullet for the tail end of our education system. And as I say, they're going to pop it into South Auckland and into Christchurch. Mr Key has gone on record as saying this is to provide choice. Choice. These are the same words the Bush administration used to actually stop central government investment into the American education system. So there's some very interesting parallels, particularly as our Minister of Education seems to be going to the United States to do some professional development on it. But I suggest we might be being a bit unfair to Mr Banks and the ACT Party. Perhaps we're crediting them with an idea that actually wasn't theirs. Let's look at the employment of the Secretary of Education, Leslie Longstone. She was actually appointed in June 2011. Now, that was well before the November election, that was well before any supply and confidence agreement, and she's actually been hired at $160,000 more than the person who had the job before her, Karen Sewell, a New Zealander. Now, her previous position was actually as the Director General of Infrastructure and Funding in the United Kingdom from September 2010, where she was responsible for delivering free schools. This is privatising and it's wrong.
Michael Woodhouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the risk of sounding slightly